Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, yeah, this was very curious and, well, curious to say the least. There's a question that's being posed here to Jen Psaki, and just watch what happens, right? And you might want to watch this a dozen or two times. This is one of those things that you say, what? What? Thankfully, I got Cindy who could immediately connect to guides. As well as my own intuition, which has been developed over the years.
Getting ports to 24/7 hours, this is going to potentially take some time. Is there any consideration that the president would declare a national emergency, have the military help? Getting ports to 24/7 hours, this is going to potentially take some time. Is there any consideration that the president would declare a national emergency, have the military help?
So she's talking about like the ports being, again, we have a shipping crisis that's going on globally. And so the question there is just asking about there being a national emergency. Would the president declare a national emergency because of everything that's going on? We have reports of 8.6% inflation. We have gas outages. We're now having food shortages, just as the Galactics had warned when they had warned that these shortages are here to stay. And so, the question is, would the president declare a national emergency? And then we cut to La Palma.
Take some time to actually have an impact. I mean, expediting commercial driver licenses for truck drivers, getting ports to 24/7 hours, this is going to potentially take some time. Is there any consideration that the president would declare a national emergency, have the military help?
Okay, so how do you read that? And, as I look at my lovely wife giving me a sly little look on her face, like, wow, So people are talking about this. And if you just jump over to Facebook, you see this. And the question is La Palma tsunami incoming? Because the questions were the president declare a national emergency with the military help. Then the feed cuts to La Palma for over 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. So, what are they trying to tell us? Are they trying to tell us? Because they were talking about the shipping crisis and the supply chain crisis, which is getting, more and more dire every day, more and more severe every day. Then national emergency, right, with the military help, and then La Palma. That's like, whoa, this is, is this some sort of big cryptic message? Do they have to tell us? As we know, they kind of have to let us know things before it starts. And I'll hand the microphone over to the lovely lady to my right.
Well, yeah, they are saying that they're in control of this, and this is how the crisis is going to be started, that they are causing problems with La Palma. They're saying that they're controlling this whole disastrous outcome.
Well, they're trying to manufacture something. As we said before, too, those 3.9 experimental explosions that we saw off, the Florida coast, if you look to those, you recognize, the things that have been hyped up about these new type of missiles that Russia and China have, and how they can move so fast you couldn't stop them. But we know from the Galactics that they actually stopped them, and kept it from basically triggering that big global conflict scenario at this point. But we know there's also, as we've been saying, a series. I guess I want to say it's more of a series of Trojan horses that are in place. And so, there again, we got right from the get-go that this is artificially flavored. This most definitely, when we're talking about La Palma, is an artificially flavored event that we are watching. So, my initial thing wasn't that I was convinced that they are going to trigger, the worst case scenario with La Palma necessarily. But I think the key is that national emergency with the military involved, creating some sort of national emergency that gets the military involved. Now, it could very well be that is what it is. Maybe that's their number one, goal, is getting this thing, which is not slowing down. And, this is now starting to become one of the largest, if not the largest, eruptions that we really can verify with La Palma, most definitely in modern times. It's still ongoing. It hasn't slowed down at all. I just want to give you guys, and I won't necessarily, might not touch on everything here, because I really want to focus a little bit more on what this is. Look at the bigger picture that's going on. When you look at some of the headlines, you see suicides in the Army's active duty forces jumped 46% compared to the previous year. More people died from suicide than they died from the plague upon the land, as far as our own active duty soldiers here in this country. You have movements, to basically get rid of police in different areas. We see over here, Chicago Police Union head urges members to defy the date for men, warns the force is going to shrink 50% this weekend. Right? I saw, what was that number that we saw? Was it 300,000 active duty personnel? And I believe it was in just one of our branches of military service that are being discharged dishonorably because they will not go along with that date for men. Right? There's all that's going on right now. Our military and our police forces, across the country are being absolutely ravaged and decimated. Ravaged and decimated. As we see, U.S. labor chaos continues. 10,000 John Deere employees are striking. We talked about Southwest Airlines, and there's talk about American Airlines now too. And there's a viral video that came out from an American Airlines pilot talking about how, he's against it. And then there was 3 Arizona senators that were speaking up as well this morning. Finally, we have Americans reverting to favoring reducing government role. Maybe that's a little too late now. As far as averting what's happening before our very eyes. If we could have got control of this, we should have gotten control of this generation ago, in reality. A long time ago, when we started to see the signs on the wall. But, we were too busy arguing with each other, the left and the right arguing nonstop. And all this has been played up by the media. There's only a couple of sane voices out there, it seems to me. And Ron Paul, his dad, seem to be some of the most sane voices out there. And, you got to wonder, because I do feel that, and we got numbers from the Galactics talking about, how much corruption there is in our own government, which is just, it's nauseating. But I think people understand that. When you're told, and we were told, that, the days of the past when you went into a store and you had all this stuff to choose from, any time of the year you walk into a store, if you're in a particular, definitely if you're in a bigger city, You could probably get a watermelon any time of the year. You might be able to get, things like kiwi and dragon fruit and passion fruit. Things that are even, pretty exotic. No matter where you are, you could get all sorts of things any time of the year. That's a thing of the past, they're telling us. They're telling us, that's a thing of the past. Food prices going up, food scarcity increasing. And then we see, the push for global taxation. Oh, don't worry, they're only going to tax the corporations globally. You wait. Come on. We know better than that. This isn't really about taxing corporations, because the biggest corporations in the world are, such power-wielding entities that they dwarf really the politicians. Again, really nothing but puppets on strings. Nothing but puppets on strings. Do you think there is even any capability of any sort of original thought in some of these people? I don't think so. I think they're nothing but puppets on a string. There was a picture of the monkey that went up into space like 50-something years ago, more than that now. And I'm thinking, that monkey looks more intelligent than most of the politicians we see, and would probably be much more honest. That global taxation thing is getting us ready for just a global system, which is very, very close. Russia's gold and currency reserves hit record highs as Moscow warns of unprecedented pressures from inflation on world economy. And Russia's been stockpiling gold and other reserves. And they're ditching, as is China, the dollar for the most part. They've just been playing with the dollar. So, the plans that we have said, the plans of those at the top is for, this is it. They've used the United States as much as they've desired to, and now they're ditching it. And again, they write the script. They write all the script as we look for that root word, scripture. So when you look to, Babylon the Great, that's the vision that they have for this next play coming up. And, we've seen these robot dogs. They were walking around DC yesterday. There were politicians escorted by robot dogs. Now, this one happens to have a very high-powered rifle mounted to the top, and that's the next step here. Robot dogs now have assault rifles mounted on their backs. And we saw things like this, the size of a tank in Nevada, in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
there was
huge.
4 of them on a tractor trailer. And this was when we had the trailer, and we were leaving Nevada for good, and we were heading to New Mexico and Arizona. And we were stunned to see it. It was right there on the highway, undoubtedly going to or from the test site there. And it was as big as a 350 pickup truck, somewhere in between there and the size of a tank. They were huge, but they were the exact same thing. So when people will not back the powers that be anymore, that's what you're going to be seeing. Drones and these type of robotics. China, by the way, is the leader when it comes to that, and especially airbound. So that's something to keep in mind, because again, there's going to be new leadership. Not to say that there's not what we would call just give it a second, engineering going on. And we see extreme flooding kills 15, forces nearly 120,000 to evacuate, heavy rain, and this is in China. 60 coal mines suspended, 190,000 hectares of crops damaged, 17,000 homes washed away, basically. 17,000 homes washed away. And hang on, if you're in Texas and Oklahoma, we have some rain that could be bringing some flooding your way again, as Hurricane Pamela made landfall in Mexico. As Category 1 did some damage, because again, it's about the saturation of the ground, and is now heading up towards Texas and Oklahoma, where we have had some severe storms in Oklahoma and Kansas. And, we've seen a lot of tornadic activity, and everything is shifting. But everything could shift any way they want at any time. All they got to do is play the right note on their harps.
Yes, they do.
So, this is part of what we're waking up to. And Lake Tahoe is at the tipping point. Nothing there as far as fish anymore, just some algae. It's drying up, increased earthquake and tsunami risk. This is, what we have going on, and we keep saying this is a way too perfect storm. But what we see going on has been done in a smaller scale on our past in localized areas as well. When we see regime change, and think about regime change, because that is happening right now before our very eyes on a global scale again, and then also on a local scale. So what can we do? Again, we have to get ourselves out of the system. This is what we're preaching, and being as self-sufficient as possible. And I am amazed sometimes, and I understand everybody has their own limitations with what you can do, but people that understand where we are heading and with the times that we're in, and yet haven't taken all the necessary precautions, use your time and use your money wisely, very wisely. Think about everything that you're doing. Just like on a Friday night, we used to get pizza and wings and stuff. This is like 30 years ago when my kids were small, and just like one of those nights could cost you $50-$60. Well, for $60 you could get 25 pounds of organic rice, or beans, or lentils, or long-term food storage. Or think of the amount of organic heirloom seeds you could get. Think really carefully about how you're spending your time and your resources, because we're getting to that point now where we are going to be pushed to an all-new stage, and so we really, really have to be prepared.
Absolutely. Just do your best and prepare in your heart. And once you quiet your soul, you're able to hear more around you about what else needs to be done to prepare. So it starts with you, starts with going within.
It most definitely does. And we're going to have a more uplifting video up for the second video today.
Yep.
So, but we do have to keep reporting on what's going on in the world. But we do want to give you a lot more support as far as your spiritual practice, meditative practice, energy work, health, wellness, and uncovering some of the deeper mysteries that are kind of fun to uncover as well. So we want to thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Check out Medicinal Foods, link at the top of every video. Be prepared, guys, because we are most definitely in the thick of things right now.
Yes.
God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.